No, you know what it is? People like you, Fox News, Neil Cavuto, I mean, all the guys at Fox, and the Wall Street Journal. I mean, the truth of the matter is, if you read the New York Times and you read the Washington Post and you read the Los Angeles paper, you're not going to find Atlanta Journal-Constitution. You can't find out what's happening. When you read those papers and you watch Fox, you find out things you never knew before. I mean, I'm a sophisticated guy. I don't know these things that are happening in Washington. I have a clue. And because you bring it out in the open, because people on this network and on the Fox News bring it out, and the Wall Street Journal, I find out what's going on.
And what worries you? What's the single biggest thing that's worrying you?
The future. Without it, listen, I'm 81 years old. I'm set for life, and no one can hurt nobody can take away my living, et cetera, et cetera. I am so concerned. I listened to Larry Summers yesterday, and he was talking about competitiveness and overseas and being able to, you know, deal. And the reporter didn't ask him one question. He kept saying, we're going to be more competitive. We're going to be, and they said, well, why are you raising the corporate taxes if you want to be competitive? There's like a disconnect. You know, when your brain doesn't work, and you know, somehow or other, the brain is attached to the mouth, and when the two don't work together, the right things don't come out. There's something wrong in the thinking of people like Larry Summers, who's a bright guy. This is not a dummy. Okay?
What do you think of the president? You think he's a bright guy?
I think that he's very, very bright. I think that he's destined to make his mark in this world, and he wants redistribution of wealth, and he's a socialist at heart. I mean, I really believe
he's very popular in Atlanta.
He's very popular in Atlanta. He's very popular. Listen, he got elected.
You think he'll get reelected?
I would think that if the economy continues the way it's going, and we are looking worse in the world than we ever did before.
But he could have a Clinton bounce, right? I mean, remember Clinton and the party were annihilated in '94. He comes storming back in '96. Maybe that's what he does.
Neil, you're going to have to tell me what's going to happen during the lame duck session. That's going to be the key, the lame duck session.
Everyone's watching that. What's your biggest fear?
I think they'll try to push through cap and trade, and I think they'll try to push through EFCA, the Employee Free Choice Act. I think he's owned by the unions. I think he's going to.
So you think, well, he still has the numbers, even at lame duck session, push these union-friendly measures?
Well, they're going to go out of Congress. They'll never be elected again. I'm talking about the members of the House and the members of the, you know, the Senate's going to be a different story. We don't know how that's going to boil down. But I think that it's going to be, I think they'll try to do whatever they can do. They've already proved that in some respects, and I hate to use this word because it's not going to come off really well in America, in some respects, they're very immoral. When you think about what they did with Obamacare, how the way they pushed that through Congress, there is no Congress ever in the history of this country that ever tried anything like that, Republican or Democrat. This is a different group of people. They run by different rules. But do you think
you're quite right in terms of the sweeping things they did? I always talk, you know, conservative friends of mine, you know, sort of say, oh, you know, Obama's a disaster. He didn't get anything done. I always go back at them, Bernie, and say, you know, you might not like it, but he got a hell of a lot done. He has done more in just 18 months than most liberal presidents have done in 2 terms.
No
so what do you think of the notion that even if he isn't reelected, what he has done, President Obama has done, would take decades to undo?
Yes. The answer is yes. Yeah.
So then for smart business guys like you, or those who want to follow your example, what is the message?
The message is they're doing the right thing. I mean, when they ask me, Bernie, what do you think about? Yeah, I mean, after all, some people, you know, think I have some business acumen. And
well, you're a billionaire.
That doesn't make me bright. Okay, there's a difference between.
I would hang out with you.
Oh, you would. Thanks. All right, I'll expect you at the house. All right.
You know what I'm going to take up on that offer? Wouldn't that be the worst nightmare? There's a guy at the door. Could I ask you, speaking
No,
of
I told you to come to Atlanta with your kids.
Well, you know, I was just going to say to you, I was in Atlanta not too long ago, and I didn't know, and for you folks at home, you might not be aware of this. Bernie's the force behind this huge, gorgeous aquarium in Atlanta, and I didn't connect that till I saw the place. And I'm looking around Atlanta, where's the ocean?
Yeah,
because
right.
it's like, it's not near the ocean.
No, it's there. It's 8.5 million gallons.
It's beautiful. But what got you doing that?
Well, we're getting off the subject.
No, because this is far more important.
But I'll tell you. when I got to Atlanta, and I told you, with Ken Langone and Arthur Blank and all of the great people that started the Home Depot, we were basically broke. I was 49 years old, and if we didn't make it, I was going to go bankrupt. I had everything riding on the line. You talk about risk.
So you were at a career. I was like that with deciding whether to do these gold commercials here, but I'm kind of teetering. But go ahead.
Right. No, I was in a worse spot than you were, but trust me. And, you know, there was no backup for me. I come from a very, very poor family, and nobody was backing me up. And if I fell, I fell. And that's the end of my family. That's the end of my personal family. So I appreciated what happened to me in Atlanta, and the city and the state and the people of Atlanta and the people of Georgia I'm talking about were so good to me. And they basically taught us a lot about opening the Home Depot.
Did they say, I'm sorry I keep badgering this, because it just doesn't jive in my mind. Did they say, you know, Bernie, we really need an aquarium?
Nobody asked me for an aquarium.
So why?
I just decided to do it.
You like fish?
No, I'm Jewish. I'm Jewish. And we believe in tzedakah, which means you give back. You give back. And I am so absolutely...
I'm Italian-Irish. We believe in just keeping everything.
Well, I know that. And when we bury you, we'll put the pot right on your chest, okay?
But on that, you've made a big point, much like others. Jon Huntsman comes to mind in Utah, who wants to give it all away before he goes. And I always wonder how that goes down with the family. Let's say you're at Thanksgiving dinner. You tell your kids, your grandkids, guys, I'm giving it to Flipper, or I'm giving it to fish and good causes. I'm not giving it to you.
No, well...
How does that go down?
Well, first of all...
By dessert, are they ill?
No, first of all of my kids are taken care of enough that they don't have to worry about their house and their medical expenses and their education of their children. They're all taken care of. But I don't see any reason why my kids should be flying around the jet. I don't see any reason why they should have mansions or anything like that. If they want it, I've given them the basis. Right. Let them go out and earn it. It's like taking away. When I see these spoiled brats, and you see them all the time, I think about, and I'm going to mention it, this Pritzker kid who sued, who had $8 billion and sued the family for more. It turns your stomach. It makes you sick. And anybody who thinks that that is helpful to children,
or that they're even entitled.
Oh, they're not entitled. And anybody who thinks that that's the way to go is absolutely, should be criminally.
But the image of business titans, Bernie, fairly or not, is that they're not like you. They don't give back. They're all greedy fat cats. And you've been portrayed, not you specifically, but as just greedy SOBs.
And that's another part of the Obama theory. He has to attack somebody, and he attacks the fat cats. Listen, the guys at Goldman Sachs, don't get me started on Goldman Sachs. I think they're a ruthless organization. I think they are self-centered, only for themselves. They're money grabbers as far as I'm concerned, and they're not really good for America. That's the way I feel about those guys. But most of the people that I know who have CEOs, and I've been around so many CEOs all my life. You know, my career's 50 years in the retail business. I met guys like Sam Walton and other people like that, and I spent a lot of time with Sam Walton. I never found people like that. People like the Madoffs are rare and in between. They're small. It's a small percentage. And when you
they become the image.
Well, they become the image when they don't fight back, and I don't think these guys fight back. Let me digress for 1 second.
Sure.
I'll talk to you about fighting back. I'm very disappointed with the CEOs of America. You know, I think that they have been so intimidated, so beaten down.
You're right.
That
You're absolutely right.
They don't have the courage to stand up for what's right. I think.
Bernie, I talked to a bunch of them who are very vanilla on the air. And off air, they're beyond ticked, but they don't say it on air. And I always say, why didn't you say this on air?
Well, I would like to teach a course. I'd like to start at Harvard, and I'd like to call it Courage 101. And the courage means you've got to stand up for this country. You think about myself. My parents were Russian immigrants. We were poor. I grew up in Newark, New Jersey. I was in a black gang, for crying out. I was the only white person in a black gang. And
did they know you were white?
Well, we got into fist fights. We got into fist fights, and they say you must be black, okay? Because I could have put a couple of them down. And so, but you have to understand something. I grew up in that kind of environment, and you know, for me to be sitting here today on TV and to have the kind of wealth that I have, and to be in a position to give stuff. It could only happen in this country. Where else could it happen?
You think it's going to be harder in the future for what you to do for someone else to do?
Neil, I'm going to write a book. I'm really thinking about writing a book, and that's the story of Home Depot in a different kind of context. If we started the Home Depot today in 2010 as opposed to 1978, we could never, ever achieve what we did. You couldn't do it. In 1978, in the early 80s, we didn't have the regulations. We didn't have the trial lawyers, the power of the trial lawyers.
It started when Jimmy Carter was president.
We didn't have Sarbanes-Oxley. Sarbanes-Oxley is the killer of all times for companies. Remember, the Home Depot started because we had 4 stores. We did $25 million in volume. That was nothing, $25 million. We went public at $25 million with no history, with a very small history. If we could not go public today, we couldn't. Just the accounting fees and the lawyer fees would be $2–3 million. It's impossible. It's impossible to raise capital. The capital market is what grew the Home Depot. We were able to go to the capital. We opened 4 more stores. We went back to the market. We opened 4 more stores. We kept going back to the market, and and we prospered because we grew, because we had a good concept. We had wonderful people, and suddenly that company became a wonderful company, which it is today.
All right, Bernie Marcus, we didn't have a little long there, but I've heard from so many CEOs, past, present, former, that kind of thing, who are so vanilla and around the edge that they don't really get edgy. They don't really speak their mind, that I thought you guys might enjoy a billionaire who did, quite bluntly. I hope you enjoyed that. It's also going to be on our website.